Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. Thanks so much for being here this morning. I'm so happy to have you here. I think about you all the time. I know this is a very interesting dynamic because we reach 500,000 women in our with our website every month, but we also have 120,000 people on our Facebook group and loads of people on here on YouTube, 65,000 subscribers, and so there's so many people. But I really do actually try to put you all in my mind and my heart when I start these conversations, because that's kind of the power of this technology and the power of the ability that we've got to talk to each other in an intimate way, in a quiet way, but also at a big scale. And it's very powerful, and I love it. So thank you for being here. Super important. My cup of tea this morning. Where's my cup of tea? Oh, here it is. I am drinking, it's a really cool tea. It's elderflower and green tea. And where's my package here? I've got it somewhere, but it's really a cool tea. And green is one of my favorites. But cheers to everyone. Hope that you have a drink or coffee, juice, whatever you love. So I want to talk to you today about something that's a little bit sensitive and also important. We have a blogger. Her name is Jane Duncan Rogers, and she is an amazing lady. I met her in person, actually. She lives in Scotland, and I happened to be up there, and we got together. But she wrote a book called Before I Go Solutions, and it's a book about how to prepare for death, and how if you're working with a loved one who's dealing with an illness, that you can talk to them to get answers to questions that will make the whole process easier. And it's something that I know is on the minds of every single woman who is watching us. To some degree or another, you think about the fact, you're 60. This is a great age. I mean, some of you are like, I'm 70. I mean, this is where we are beginning a part of our lives where there's less ahead of, obviously, than there is behind. But we can, of course, stay healthy and strong for 20, 30 more years. And it's not something we have to be despairing about, but we can prepare. Now, what Jane does is actually in her book, she helps people who are dealing with a bereavement, like her husband, for example. She sat down with him and talked through things that he wanted with his funeral, with his life, what was important to him, his values. But she also wrote this article for us about ways to remember your loved ones. Now, this is two-sided, because it's both how you remember your loved ones who have passed, your partners, your friends, your family. And it's also how you want to be remembered. So ways that you can suggest to your family that they can perhaps celebrate you and keep you in their lives and in their heart. And I know this is such a tricky one, because you don't want to talk about it, really. You want to just live your life. But there are some situations that are unavoidable. And of course, we never know how much time on this amazing planet we are going to be given. So, of course, treasure every second, every minute. Love everyone in your life that's important. I mean, my little grandkids are so important to me that, I'm so blessed to have wonderful children who have created these beings and brought them into the world. And, that for me is so precious. But Jane does give us some ideas of what we can do to celebrate. Now, first one. Planting a tree, of course, is a very familiar one. There's actually some bio urns you can get now, which is something I think I'd like to do. It's a bio urn where you can plant a tree, magnolia or lilac or whatever your favorite tree is, and then that's buried and grows. And of course, you have to then find a place to bury it, but then your family can come and visit you. And the tree is such a powerful it's a rebirth. Wherever trees, are growing and strong, then there's life. It's really powerful. So trees. Another thing, though, she mentions, and these next 8 or so are really kind of quirky and fun, and maybe they'll work for you. Some, I think you're going to go, no, I don't think so. That doesn't work for me. But some of them will. Now, the first one is to make a teddy bear. Turn a piece of your clothing into a teddy bear. This is particularly cool for children. If you obviously want them to not be afraid and still see you in their lives somehow, but having a little teddy bear that's made or includes some of your clothing or some part of you that was memorable for them, some color or whatever, that's a kind of cool little thing to give to grandchildren or to young people or anyone. Turn a piece of clothing into a teddy bear. Another thing that's a little bit more detailed is to turn your clothing or some of your clothing into, or their clothing, into a quilt. And this is maybe a nice one if you've got sewing skills, or just it's just a kind of a nice thing to wrap yourself up in, especially if they had a style of clothing and colors that were unique. So that's a kind of cool one. If you think this is a cool idea for you, tell somebody, you know. And I think it's a really nice way to create a patchwork of your life, maybe all the different things you used to wear, parts of it, little patches, great memory. Another one is to create a memorial garden. I really like this idea too. It doesn't need a gravestone. It doesn't need a cemetery. This is just a little place in your garden where you plant little flowers and plants that reminded you of that person, or as I said, things that would remind people of you, whichever you want. But if a memorial garden is something you'd love, tell your family about that. But for you to celebrate someone you've lost, a memorial garden is really, really cool. And you go out there and sit with a cup of tea, drink a glass of wine, and just remember them. And remember, this little garden is in their memory, all the things you shared together. Another thing is to keep one of their items of jewelry to wear. And that's a nice gift. It's only one or two items. I only have one or two items, but I'm sure they'll find a home. But if you've got something from someone you loved that they wore all the time that you would like to wear in their memory, that's another thing you can do. Keep an item of their jewelry to wear. Another thing, and this is one where some people are going to go, no, thank you very much, is to have their ashes turned into some item of jewelry, like a little locket or something that's you can wear around your neck, or a bracelet that includes a piece of their ashes woven into it. Now, I'm not so keen on this one personally myself, because it just feels, I don't know, just maybe my head isn't around it yet. But this is some people love it. And there are companies all over the internet now that will make jewelry from a loved one's ashes, or you can have it done for you if you want to share that way. I think it's really kind of interesting. As I said, I haven't got any recommendations, but you can find them. But that's another thing. Turn some of your ashes into a jewelry piece. Another thing is to remember and celebrate a person's hobbies, or do something that they used to do with you together. You know, if they used to cook, this is one that my family unfortunately won't have the opportunity, but if they were great cooks and they had a special recipe, cook that, make that recipe and get the whole family round and share it and say, this is, how, Mary or John would have liked us to celebrate him or her because they loved this food. They loved this hobby. They maybe, if they liked things like craft building or painting, just all do it in their honor. Doesn't matter how good you are at it. It's just doing it and celebrating. You could plant a grape tree if they liked wine. Have a drink of wine, but something that connects them to that hobby or that activity. Another thing is to name something after them. Now, this is also very powerful. I know some people name a star, and Jane says that I think one of her friends did this, and it's a really lovely, on a starry night, go out there and kind of point to the star in the sky that's named after them, and just kind of makes you feel, I don't know, it's just something about space, isn't there? It's unknown. We don't know where people are going after they die, and maybe it's saying heaven in a very broad sense. They've gone somewhere where their memory is going to stay on and stay with us, and we're going to remember them. And I think that's, maybe you can always say they're in your heart, but looking up at the sky too is lovely. I think heart's a good place to live. Memories of you keep your loved ones. And another thing is to host a dinner or some activity in their memory every year. And this is, we tend to think about the day that a person passed and a day that we remember them, that annual kind of remembrance. But it doesn't have to be annual. It could just be, let's get together and remember that person, what they did, what they loved to do. Let's have a celebration. But what Jane is saying is to ritualize it, in the sense that you make it something that you do together, that you say, hey, guys, let's all get together once every now and again, once a few months, and just think and, just be aware of how important they were in our lives. and you know what they mean. If this is something that you would like to do, have a chat about this. Say, guys, when I'm gone, I would love you to get together and just have a little tapas meal and a glass of wine, and just, I don't know, for me, watch some videos, or or listen to something I said, or just something that brings that person back to your heart and into your being. And I think that's a nice way to celebrate people that you've lost. Do it together. Whenever I travel now, I think about Evelyn Hannon, who is someone I really cared about. And she's kind of my little goddess of travel. She passed away this year. And also Cindy Joseph, who was one of our bloggers, who was a great inspiration to me. She was beautiful. And I think about her when I do my makeup videos sometimes. But it's just associating people with things that they gave to you in your life. So I think that's, the planting a wildflower area was the last one that Jane mentions. This is great with kids, because you could just take the seeds and just throw it in the field and say, this is, where that person lived, or where they love to go walking. And maybe that's something in the memory of your parent, or your husband, or your friend, just to say, when you walk past that part of your garden or that part of the field, there they are. They're there in that little spirit. It's really powerful. So I want to thank Jane for writing this article. It's a lovely article, and you may want to check out her website. We've actually got some really great cards in our deck of cards. I know I mentioned this a lot, but it is one of the few things that we do actually offer our women. It's a deck of 46 inspirational cards. Live your legacy. Find a way to suggest that that the memory of you continues, and also to allow the legacy of others to continue too. I think it's amazingly beautiful. And we're so blessed to be here to even be talking about this. So please have a wonderful day, everybody. Take very good care. And leave your comments below. Have you ever thought of an interesting way to remember someone that you loved? Or do you have an idea of how you want to be remembered? Take good care, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye for now.